Good afternoon. It is Wednesday, September the 30th, and I am Pastor MP. This is the Wednesday edition of the St. Mark Spark. Today, our gospel reading is from the chapter of Luke, or the book of Luke, chapter 5, verses 27 through 39. Hear now the word of the Lord. After this, he, Jesus, went out and saw a tax collector named Levi sitting at the tax booth. And he said to him, "Follow me." And he got up, left everything, and followed him. Then Levi gave a great banquet for him in his house, and there was a large crowd of tax collectors and others sitting at the table with them. The Pharisees and their scribes were complaining to his disciples, saying, "Why do you eat and drink with tax collectors and sinners?" Jesus answered, "Those who are well have no need of a physician, but those who are sick. I have come to call not the righteous, but sinners to repentance." Then they said to him, "John's disciples, like the disciples of the Pharisees, frequently fast and pray, but your disciples eat and drink." Jesus said to them, "You cannot make wedding guests fast while the bridegroom is with them, can you? The days will come when the bridegroom will be taken away from them, and then they will fast in those days." He also told them a parable. "No one tears a piece from a new garment and sews it in an old garment. Otherwise, the new will be torn, and the piece from the new will not match the old. And no one puts a new wine into old wineskins. Otherwise, the new wine will burst the skins, and the wine will be spilled, and the skins will be destroyed. But new wine must be put into fresh wineskins. And no one, after drinking old wine, desires new wine, but says the old is good." This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Now, when I read this morning, the one part of this passage that jumped out to me was the story of the new and old wineskins. And what it made me think of was a number of years ago, I was riding my bicycle a lot. And I was attempting to learn how to change my tires, to put new inner tubes in, to adjust brakes and those sorts of things. And so one day I purchased some of these inner tubes that go inside the tire that are supposed to be self-sealing. If you should blow a tire or an inner tube, there's this green goop that's inside. And so I was outside and I was doing this, and I was having a rough go of it. And my husband, Carl, came out and asked if I needed any help, and continued to ask me if I needed help, and tried to push in a little bit because he could see that I was struggling. I became very irritated, and eventually he went back in the house. Not a minute or so later, I overfilled the tire. Basically, I think I crimped the inner tube in putting the tire back on between the rim and so forth. And so as the inner tube expanded, the thing blew, and it blew out the sides, blew the tire off the rim, and green goop was everywhere. Well, just at that moment, my husband came out and saw me with this green goop all over. Now, I was not happy, but he got a good laugh out of it. And to this day, we get a good chuckle. But that story jumped out as I read about these old wineskins and new wineskins. Because as I was thinking about tires and inner tubes, I know that fresh, new rubber inner tubes and tires will expand easier. You can fill them up with more air and they can take it. You can overfill them. But as rubber sits, it starts to get old, it starts to dry rot. And if you put air in it and you overfill it, it will blow and it will explode. So at some point, you might even be able to patch up that old inner tube, that old tire, with a new piece of rubber. They give you these patch kits, right? But at some point, it's just done. You need to throw out the old dry rotted rubber tire, and you need to get a new, freshly made, more supple rubber tire. And I think that's sort of what Jesus is talking about here. So, and it made me think about things in my life that I am patching up, that I'm trying to limp along, that eventually may need to be replaced or refreshed in some way. So my question to you today is, what things in your life are you limping along because they are old and they might be cherished in some way, but they are old, they might be out of time, they are out of life, and you're limping them along rather than discarding it, replacing it, and looking forward to something new. Peace be with you this day and always, and until we see you again, may God hold you in the palm of God's hands.